So who needs some good news about the current and future state of our democracy? Yeah, me too. And this talk is about the good news. And it starts with a humbling story, mine. After the 2016 presidential election, I was scared. So I called my cousin who lives in Ohio and votes very differently than me. And I said, "Cousin, I know you to be a good, smart man, and I'm terrified, and you are not. Can you help me understand?" And he did. His response, "Cousin, it was a success just because you called to say that I was a good, smart man." And I thought, I've probably never conveyed that to him. And to be honest, I'm sure I conveyed the opposite. And I was deeply humble because I'd been so worried about the callousness and the intolerance of them that I was modeling the very behavior I was trying to change. And I know from studying psychology that the more we care about something, the more stress we feel. But if we don't work with that stress, we can, as Van Jones says, easily become the thing we're fighting. But here's the interesting thing. The upside of humility is that I felt less afraid, less alone, and more hopeful. Because I think of myself as a good person who is doing my best. And I think the same of my cousin. Humility helps break the illusion of black and white, us versus them thinking that we get into under stress. And that's a good thing, because that is the story that we're being told on the national stage. In the media, in social media, that our country looks like this, these two hardened camps. 50% good people vote one way, roughly 50% bad people who vote another. And there's nowhere to go with that. So the first piece of good news is that our country actually looks more like this, where the majority of us say we have more in common than what divides us. We can learn to work it out despite our differences. We want less partisan, more practical civil leaders. The organization that does this research refers to this group as the exhausted majority. Anyone relate? Yeah, me too. More good news, 72% of us say that it is our responsibility to bridge divides. And better yet, when other people see us doing it, they're more likely to do it too. So why is this so important? Because many of us think that democracy happens out there, with voting, politicians, and policy. And that's true. But what is also true is that democracy happens right here, in the quality and quantity of the literally billions of interactions in relationships amongst people of all backgrounds. Maybe the most important thing I will say on the stage today is that new research shows that sustainably peaceful societies that have thrived, some for centuries, the foundational element is that there are more positive interactions across difference than negative. And the people who live in those societies don't take it for granted. They intentionally and regularly interact with people across difference with care, kindness, and respect. So maybe the best news is we all have the capacity to help tip the scales in the direction of a sustainable, peaceful democracy. So how can we? Here are 4 research-backed tools that we found incredibly effective in the last decade in our Bridging Divides work. Use them with friends, family, but do not start with the most challenging person. So first, my favorite, ease up. Distressed people do distressing things, including us. So we get to start by having compassion for ourselves. These times are hard for all of us. And studies on compassion show the more we have it, the more accepting we are, especially with people who are different than us. So the next time you enter into the next potentially tricky conversation, think of a word or phrase that helps you feel compassion for you both. Because although content is important in conversation, it is our emotions that have the biggest impact on the person across from us. I often say to myself, this is challenging for both of us, and we are both doing our best. 2, lower the bar. Don't go into a conversation with somebody across difference trying to change their mind. It's super stressful and often has the opposite effect. And the less certain someone is about their position or insecure they are in general, the more likely they are to double down under pressure. I reframe these conversations for myself as a learning conversation, where the person who's doing the learning is me. 3rd, ironically has 3 parts. We refer to it as the big playback, and it's core to any mediation. It starts by asking a good question. How did you come to care about this? What's meaningful to you about this? Not, how did you vote? Asking about meaning evokes interesting stories. It gives us a sense of what matters to somebody, how they came to their perspectives, and it helps build connection. 2nd part, listen all the way through as they answer your good question without interruption, and then play back a summary of what you think you heard in their language. I think what I heard you say was, and at the end say, did I get that close enough? And then let them add or edit as needed. Core to this exercise, look for a relatable value. I may be in a conversation with you about gun responsibility, and I may disagree with how you want to handle guns, but I can always empathize with your desire to keep your family safe. A core human need is to feel seen and heard and valued. It calms our nervous system and helps us feel safe, where we all make better decisions. We can convey respect by listening to somebody all the way through. The people who have gone through our programs often say this is the most important exercise because they couldn't remember the last time they had somebody's undivided attention. It is often the greatest gift we can give to someone else. 3rd, use play. If you're holding a meeting or having a dinner party with people with very different points of view, start by saying whoever comes up with the 3 most interesting or surprising commonalities with the person next to you gets the pie. And who doesn't want pie? Studies on play shows that it helps us be more caring, more considerate, more adaptive, with higher social and emotional intelligence. And finding commonality and play creates a sense of affiliation, and it's fun. The 4th, I mentioned earlier, is humility. Humility says I'm not always right. It makes us less defensive, more open to take in other points of view that may challenge our beliefs or political points of view, and it makes us less extreme. And isn't that what we want from others? And the best way to get it is to model it. Social behavior and emotions are highly contagious and amplified in groups. So how we feel and act greatly affects the other person and everyone around us. I used to think courage was giving somebody a piece of my mind about something I cared about. And sadly, I was good at it. Because what I've come to find is that true courage is giving somebody a piece of my heart about something I care about in the face of fear and discomfort, like practicing tools like these. So remember, the truth is more hopeful than it looks. We have more power than we think, and treating ourselves and others with kindness as we reach across divides can make all the difference. Thank you.